Welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to talk about my first week in Ephraim. Whoop whoop! One heart, one mind. And actually, I decided on the title, All from the Heart, towards the end of the week. And originally I had written down a thankful heart, maybe as a possibility. But then a few experiences happened, and I realized that I wanted to talk about how that week felt like it was all from the heart. Everything I shared from the heart. The things that I learned, I feel like went straight to my heart. And so I kind of want to talk about all from the heart. Now, is it a coincidence that it's one heart, one mind? I don't know. I definitely didn't think, it needs to do something with the heart since my company name has one heart, one mind in it. But that's kind of just how it happened, because that's just, I don't know how it happened. And I love it, and it's working out perfect, so I'm grateful for that. I am excited to talk about kind of what happened this week. I already know, because I know myself pretty well, that there's going to be more than one episode. So, buckle your seatbelts and let's get started. I just would like to say first that there are over 4,000 words in my notes for this week. From July 9th to July 15th, I have over 4,000 words. Is that crazy or what? Because I don't know. That's crazy to me. I think it's the most I have for all of the weeks together. Not together, but all of the weeks. I need to check about my most recent week and compare that. That would be really the only competitor here. Anyway, okay, so I wrote down each day by day, and the first week in Ephraim is actually when I started taking such detailed notes. I didn't do that in Kentucky or Provo. As to why, I don't really know. But I did start doing this in Ephraim, so I'm really grateful for that. But I went super detailed. So I put day 0, which is Sunday. And I was so ecstatic because my friend, Kaylee, who's actually on my podcast, and I don't know when I'm going to post her episode. I don't know, someday. But I recorded an episode with her, so at some point in time, I will post that, and then you'll have a video or a recording of her. Oh, yeah, and she was in my other episode just recently because I shared the little link that she shared with her story. Anyway, so Kaylee ended up being in Ephraim even though she was supposed to be in Provo, and it was such an amazing blessing because even though we weren't in the same session, we were still both in Ephraim, so we got to see each other. And she was on the phone with me for over an hour while I was driving to Ephraim, which is a huge blessing because I was falling asleep. So she helped me stay awake on my drive, and it was so nice and such a tender mercy because I was a little bit nervous. I was really scared. I had just finished a week in Provo. I was exhausted, and then I had to drive 2.5 hours to Ephraim. Luckily, my aunt and uncle let me crash at their house for Saturday night, and I took a 10-hour nap on Saturday, which I don't know if that's considered a nap anymore. Anyway, and then I woke up and went to church on Sunday, and then I headed out to Ephraim. So I was really tired, not because I had slept 10 hours, but because I probably didn't have enough sleep. I could have slept longer. So she helped me stay awake, and it was really awesome because I was just talking about kind of what was in my head and the feelings that I was experiencing and things that was kind of, I don't know, bouncing around in my head and things that I was worried about and stressed about and things that I was excited about. And Kaylee is such an amazing listener, and so that helped me a ton, and I'm extremely grateful. It's interesting because I didn't realize that that was the case when I called her, that we were both going to be in Ephraim, and so when I called her and was like, hey, can we just chat? And she was like, yeah, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I'm in Ephraim. And so it's just this fun little thing, and we got to celebrate over that together over the phone, and then again in person. But I'm just really grateful because it's a reciprocal friendship, and I feel like she is just as excited to be my friend as I'm as excited as I am to be hers. And she just kept saying that it was the best news ever that I was coming to Ephraim, and the best news ever that I was on my way. And I was like, no, the fact that you're in Ephraim is the best news ever. And so I was really excited about that. So that's just coming into Sunday. And that's coming down to Ephraim, arriving at Snow College, all these things. So once I get to Snow College, I grab my key, I meet Jaden. He's amazing. I can already tell it's going to be a good week. I can just tell. I barely probably said like 20 words to him, but I knew that it was going to be a good week. We had dinner or lunch. Yeah, let's say dinner. We went on a cute little quick tour around campus, which Ephraim, Snow College is so small that the campus tour was like 15 minutes, and normally it's like an hour. So we finished that, we went back to my room, and then just chilled, hung out, I unpacked, and then we both went to our evening meetings on Sunday. And that's just something that you do as an FSY counselor and AC and coordinator, all this stuff. FSY staff is you have a meeting on Sunday night, and you meet the session director and his wife, and he and his wife introduce themselves, and they kind of talk about what their expectations are for their week, and they give a little devotional and kind of talk about what they're excited about. They kind of get to know you. That specific week we had Brother Wright, and he unfortunately was unable to bring his wife because she fell and broke some of her ribs, and so she had to stay home to heal. But he still came, and he was sad that she wasn't there, but we took a few videos and pictures for her and just said, "We love you, Sister Wright." He told us that she really enjoyed those, so I'm glad that she did. But yeah, she wasn't there, but he was, and one of the things that he said, which really stuck out to me, was loving the lovable is easy. Loving the unlovable is what makes us celestial. And Jane and I actually already recorded an episode about our week, so you're going to rehear me talk about this quote. But I just wanted to hurry and state that there wasn't any kids that week that I was like, wow, they are so unlovable. But I did love the aspect of this quote and what it's saying, is that sometimes people fight really hard. They don't want to be loved, or, I mean, deep down they really do, but they don't want what that comes with that. And so as an FSY counselor, that's part of your job, though, is to love as much as you possibly can, including loving the unlovable, as in loving the youth that fights it. And I had to do that a few times this summer, which I don't regret doing. I'd do it again and again. And then we broke out into our little counselor groups, and so Jaden and I kind of talked. And I don't want to say too much about it because we kind of already talked about it. But I guess worst case, you just re-listen to what I'm already saying. So anyway, it was really interesting to me that he wanted to get to know me. I mean that sounds dumb, but I just mean, I feel like normally when you meet your co, you're like, okay, let's start planning. And I don't really feel like I get to know them super well. But he genuinely wanted to get to know me. He wanted me to tell him about myself. He wanted to ask questions. He wanted to know what I wanted to do with my life. He wanted to know my passions. And I was like, what the heck? I was not used to this. Then when I asked him questions, he wouldn't know the answer, and I was like, Jaden, you have to tell me about yourself now. He's just so focused on others and lifting others up and helping others that it was, I don't know, oh my gosh, I love Jaden. Anyway, every Sunday they normally have a little snack for us that they bought the previous day, and we had chocolate milk and cookies, and milk, but I like chocolate milk, and I was really excited about that, so I had some chocolate milk, and it was delicious, in case you're wondering. I ended up telling Jaden the story about how I want to work with kids, and I'm actually not going to go into that because that is a whole episode by itself. I genuinely need to record one about it. I keep reminding myself and keep forgetting, but there's a whole story about that. So anyway, Jaden was such a good listener, though. He is so funny, and he was attentive. And every time, once we actually started planning, I would say something like, can we do this? And he was like, wow, this is good stuff, a few times. And it made me smile. He's just amazing. Our goal for that week was to be unified. That's what we wanted to do, is we wanted to be unified as a co-ship, and we wanted to be unified as a company, and we wanted to be unified as friends. And one of the things that we ended up deciding on was the company name, One Heart, One Mind, as going in the theme of unity. We actually decided we wanted to be unified before we picked out that name, and that name just felt right. It just kind of stuck out to me, and I was like, Jaden, what do you think about this? And he agreed, and so that's kind of what we did. When I left to go get something, Jaden snatched my phone and took a selfie when I wasn't looking, and it is such a cute and adorable picture. I put it as his profile picture, but yeah, he's amazing. Then we walked over to throw the trash out, and he threw the trash bag right over the trash can, and he had to go retrieve it. And it was just an awesome night, and I was really excited for the week after meeting Jaden. I mean, he just made it so exciting. I just couldn't wait to meet the kids and have a co-ship and have a company with him. So that was Sunday night. Then there's day one. Once again, there's going to be a lot of repeat stuff when you listen to the episode with Jaden on Wednesday. But something that we enjoyed doing was coming up with the chant. And I kind of made a mistake, and I said, we are of, and I meant to say we are of, like, we are of. But I said, we are of, and he's like, oh, I like that. And I'm like, what? And then he kind of said it, and then he said it, and I, liked it. I could hear it, and I said, okay. And then we ended that in there, too. So, all about embracing our mistakes over here, embracing imperfection. Oh, okay, another thing. I was crazy at Meet Your Counselor. But what's new, honestly? I was, looking back, I'm like, oh my heavens, I was crazy. I was exhausted. I was so tired. And I was concerned about being so tired because I wanted to be able to be there for the kids and be excited and be hype. And I was like, shoot, what do I do? So I was praying for energy and praying for strength. And then I ended up putting some caffeine packets in my hydro flask during Meet Your Counselor so I could stay awake because I kept yawning. And it was just, it was kind of embarrassing, but I was crazy. I literally told the girls, I'm like, I'm going to drink some caffeine because I'm falling asleep. And I'm sure they thought I was crazy. One of my favorite things to do after the week is over is ask for first impressions. Because I think I introduce myself different every single week, or I give different vibes every single week. And I think they're all positive vibes, but they're definitely all different variations of crazy. And so I was curious what my girls thought of me that week, and they were all really nice when they talked to me about it. And someone said that they felt like they could trust me, and that I was super fun and goofy. And one of them said something really sweet. I think it was Jordan. Jordan said, she could tell by the way that I treated them that it was going to be a good week. I thought about that a little bit more. What? I don't know. I just don't know exactly what I did that I treated them well. I don't know. Just with a lot of love, I guess. But I do make it a priority to get to know their names as soon as I possibly can. And normally I know the girls' names pretty well before we even leave the dorms. Sometimes I have to remember a name or two, and sometimes I have to kind of brush up. But normally I know their names before we leave the dorms, and that's something that's super important to me. So that's maybe another thing too, is I was really interested in getting to know their names and really interested in getting to know who they were. I knew throughout the week that we'd get to know each other a little bit more. And so it's kind of hard when you're like, okay, say your name and say what high school you go to and what cookie represents you best. I don't know. And we did something kind of like that. And those are fun introductions for sure. But I also don't worry super ton about those and what one I pick, or if it's a TV show, or if I pick movie, or if I pick favorite color, because I know throughout the week I'll get to know them. Honestly, as long as I get to know their natures, get to know the things that they're passionate about, some of the details are not something that I stress about. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean I don't love the details, because I do. But I really want to get to know the kids for who they are as people, who they are as children of God, what matters to them most. And so that's kind of what I like to focus on throughout the week. I'm really, really, really blessed, really, really, really blessed to be good with names. I know some people really struggle with memorizing names. I've never really had a problem with it. Thank goodness for that. I am so blessed to be good with names and faces. Jaden was incredible at Meet Your Company. I love him so, so much. I remember that we got there, the girls and I did, and he texts, we are on our way, because that's kind of from our chant. Instead of saying we are of one heart, we say we are of. And so when he texts, he went, we are on our way, and I could not stop laughing about it. I loved it. I just started laughing, and the girls were like, what? And I just said, just wait till you meet Jaden, and everything will make sense. He's just probably one of the best people I've ever met, ever. His girlfriend currently is on a mission, and he just adores her, and talked about her, and talked about how he thanks Heavenly Father every day for her. And so he was just my best friend. I mean, honestly, I asked him, I was like, can you be my older brother? I don't have one. And I'd love if you just wanted to take that role for me. He just laughed, and he was like, okay. That's Jaden for you. He said he'd be my older brother, but Jaden's literally one of the best people I have ever met. The next thing I wrote down is, I hate to say it, but I actually really like the orientation dance now that I have it down. I hated it so much at first. I complained up and down the wall about it, about how we moved so many different directions and about how there were so many different moves and so many things I got to memorize, and I have to dance really fast and it starts so soon, and I couldn't stop complaining about it. But now I actually really like it. I think it's kind of fun, and I have it down real well now. And I was thinking about that too at the beginning of the summer. I'm like, just wait, I'm gonna actually like this when I actually get it down. And then I got it down and I do like it, so it's funny how that works out. Another thing that I wrote down is that my kids are starting to make me feel less sad about missing kids in previous weeks. I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, as in they're replacing the other kids, but I had been really, really struggling, mourning and grieving and missing kids from previous weeks. And it was really hard, really hard. But Heavenly Father was helping me, and He was helping me fill this gaping hole that I felt like I had when I met these other youth, and I felt their love, and I was able to show love to them. And it was really helpful. And I told the girls that on night one. I said, thank you, girls, so much. You have no idea how blessed and grateful I feel right now to have you in my company and to know you. So thank you. And I'm sure they were like, what? But yeah, it helped a lot. Another exciting thing about that week, which just was a blast, is we had a rock, paper, scissors competition to get excused to go to dinner. A lot of companies were already released, but at one point they had all of the counselors come up there from both co's, so the boy and the female co. And we were to go up there and play rock, paper, scissors, and then the last counselor standing got to take their company and go to dinner. And I am terrible at rock, paper, scissors. I always have been. So bad. I just don't know. I just am really bad at it. I normally lose right off. But you would not believe that I won the championship. And it was awesome. Jaden got a video of the very, very end when I beat the last person, and I throw my hands up in the air and cheer really loud, and all the kids are cheering. And I don't know what it's like from their perspective, but Jaden and the kids told me that they were so ecstatic and so happy, and they're all cheering for me. I didn't really hear specifically my name or anything. I just heard cheering and yelling, but I was so happy, and it just was a great way to start up the week. So yeah, I won rock, paper, scissors challenge. I think I played it 4 or 5 different times against people. Maybe 6, 4 or 5 different times. You just do one, and then the last 2 people you did best out of 3. And I won, and it was awesome, and it was so exciting, and I don't know how I did it. I don't know. And this might sound super, super dumb, okay? Super dumb, so be aware. But before I did it, before I did my very last one to win, it was like it just came to my mind what I was going to do. I don't know. I'm not claiming that Spirit told me what to do. But I'm also not claiming that. I'm not claiming it, but I'm also not claiming it, because it was weird. Every time, I just knew what I was going to do. And normally I'm like, oh, I don't know. And so, yeah, we won, and I was ecstatic about it. And the funny thing is that we had played rock, paper, scissors for fun at Meet Your Company between Jaden and I, and he won. And I was like, oh, see, I just can't, I'm not very good at it. And so the very first round, when I stayed in and he got out, I was like, Jaden, what are you doing? I was like, no, you're supposed to be here winning for us. But then I ended up winning. So anyway, so fun. Okay, something that I talked about with Jaden in our episode that you'll listen to on Wednesday, or that you'll be able to listen to on Wednesday, is that we had the best home evening I've ever had in my entire FSY career, last year and this year. I have never had a better home evening. It was just so good. It was a Friday level spiritual friendship connected night on Monday. And I was like, what is this? It was amazing. We debriefed some of the games really deeply, and the kids really were tuned in and so respectful. I know I say this all the time, but I just want to make sure you all know. When I say kids, it is a term of endearment, and sometimes people don't know what that means, so I want to tell you. Term of endearment is a term of love and a term of affection. And I would rather call you my kids because I had stewardship over you rather than saying my participants. Sometimes I say my youth, but I don't know, kids just feel so personal and it feels so familial. And so I like to say that instead of youth or participants or whatever. Like I said, I do say youth. I avoid participants because that's not very personal. But I do call you kids, and even I literally had 18-year-old boys in my company. And even then, he's still one of my kids because he was in my company and I had stewardship over him and I got to spend time with him being his female counselor. So anyway, I call you kids out of love. I just want you to know. So, going back to this, we debriefed some of the games really deeply, and the kids were tuned in. They were so respectful. They were so kind. I mean, I was just so impressed. I think every single one of them had their handbook out and had their pen out and was just listening and participating, and it was awesome. It was amazing. And I felt prompted to talk about how Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ know more than just our names. And I don't think I've shared it here on my podcast yet, so I'll share it here. But basically what I shared is that sometimes, and I don't even remember how this connected to the game, but it did. Somehow we got there. Somehow we connected it to the game we were playing. Because what you do for home evening is you have about an hour. You have from 7 to 8 to play games. And there are specific games that you can play, and you can kind of pick from which ones you want to play. And then you play those games however many times you want, and then you debrief them. So you relate the games to the gospel, or you relate them to doctrine, or just things of the world and things of the gospel, and kind of just take it deeper. I think the main goal of it is to show the youth that you can have fun and you can feel the Spirit. And that's kind of one of the goals of FSY, to show the kids that you can have a ton of fun and still feel the Spirit. Church camp doesn't have to be this super quiet, super reverent place all the time. There's a time and a place for that, absolutely. But we wanted to show them that when you play games, you can debrief them and you can relate them back to the gospel. And so when we were debriefing one of them, I talked about how he knows more than just our names. And I stated that as a youth, I had a lot of questions. So many questions. And I thought about it all the time about how he knew my name, right? People told me that. He knows your name. And I was like, that's great. So does Joe across the street. I made that up, but so does my neighbor. What makes it so special that he knows my name? And so then I went to a youth fireside. And in the youth fireside, we were able to ask anonymous questions and submit questions. And so one of the questions I asked is, what does it mean that he knows my name? Does he know more than just my name? And the bishop had such a great answer that I never forgot it. And I've shared it off and on depending on if I feel prompted or not. But what I shared was that the bishop said that his daughter at the time was 15. So I must have been 13 at the time because she was 2 years older than me. So he shared that his daughter was 15. And if she got in an accident tomorrow or the next day, as he was sharing, and she didn't remember anything about herself, she didn't remember who she was, he could tell her. He could show her. He could take her to her favorite ice cream place and tell her what her favorite flavor was. And he could tell her what her favorite color was and what music she liked to listen to and who her friends were and what was important to her and what she liked to do and who she liked to be and things that made her laugh. And he would know her. So even though she forgot and even though she could not remember who she was, he still knew. And then he related this to us, and us going through this veil, and not being able to remember who we are, not being able to remember what made us laugh, what we were excited about, what we were passionate about, what things mattered most to us. After we passed through the veil, those things, we didn't know them anymore, right? And so this life is about figuring out who we are and becoming more like him, becoming more heavenly, becoming more like the Savior. But it was really cool to know and to realize and to understand and have it put so plainly that he knows much more than just my name. And I'm sure maybe you've heard that he knows more than you know yourself, or he knows you better than you know yourself. And you're like, what? That makes no sense. I am myself. How could he know me better than I know my own thoughts? But it was explained in a way that it made sense. If he has memories with us, long time of memories. I don't know how many years. Eons is what he said. If he has eons of memories, years of memories of us, then he obviously knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows us before, which was still us. I mean, I was still me and you were still you. And so I think that's one aspect, that he knows us better than ourselves. And then also he just knows our natures. And so it was really comforting to me to hear that as a youth, to hear, wow, he knows much more than just my name. He knows much more than just my name, and he loves me anyway. And that gave me a lot of peace and a lot of comfort. So I just realized it's 27 minutes in. I'll be editing it, so it will be a little bit less than that at this current moment in time. I always think it's funny when I get to this part and I look down at what the time is actually as I'm editing, and I'm like, oh, I've already shaved off 2 minutes. I normally try to stay underneath 30 minutes. Really try. I really try hard. That doesn't always work, and that doesn't always happen. But I try really hard to stay under 30 minutes. And I'm genuinely not even moved on from day one. So I actually told another company about how I had 4,000 words of notes, and that I was probably going to have 4 or 5 episodes. And they were like, whoa. Because, yeah, just whoa. So yeah, this is episode 1. This is literally day 1, day 0 and day 1. So obviously there's a lot more to talk about. Wednesday, once again, you're going to be able to listen to an episode of Jaden and I, and he's just fantastic. I know you'll love him just as much as I do, because he's amazing. Since I'm running out of time, I'm just going to do the word of the day and the quote of the day. The word of the day is tantamount, and it is an adjective. And it's the phrase is most used in tantamount to. So basically what it means is tantamount to is equivalent to, equal to, amounting to, as good as, more or less, synonymous with, virtually the same as, comparable to, on a par with, along the lines of, as serious as, identical to. That's tantamount. So I'm going to use that word today by saying that Monday's home evening night, how spiritual it was, the same spiritual level. It was Monday spiritual level was tantamount to Friday's spiritual level. I think I used that right. Equivalent to? Yeah, anyway. It was such a good day, and I was really excited and really happy about Monday. So since I genuinely only got through day 0 and day 1, tantamount, comparing about how awesome day 1 was compared to day 5, they were pretty equal. They were pretty awesome. I'm pretty grateful. And that's not often that it happens, that a Monday is as spiritually charged and spiritually awesome as it is on Friday. And so I was super grateful for that. It was just a really cool experience. And for the quote of the day, I'm going to stick with what quote Brother Wright shared with us. And I think an apostle said this. I can't remember though. Loving the lovable is easy. Loving the unlovable is what makes us celestial. I know sometimes loving the unlovable, loving the people that fight your love, fight your service, fight your outward reaches, can be kind of disheartening, and it's kind of a lot of work, and it can be really hard because you just want so badly to help them and to help them feel your love, and they just kind of shut you down. But I also know that when that relationship matches and it works and it's reciprocated, that it is such a wonderful and fulfilling feeling. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes those people continue to be someone that doesn't want to be loved. But I also know that the Savior never gives up on us, and He would never, ever, ever, ever give up on those who fight His love. And so I want to keep and hopefully continue to do my best to love the, quote, unlovable. Love the people that fight it. And I know that when we do that, it's a celestial feeling. It's a celestial thing. It's a celestial attribute. And I think that's pretty special. So, anyway, I apologize for this being only 2 days worth and getting through probably not even a quarter of my notes. Oh, but I'm sure you guys are fine with it. I'm sure you guys are like, oh, it's all good. We're just going to listen to more. But there will be more episodes, obviously. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till next Monday to hear another episode. by myself, but once again, you'll be able to hear one with Jaden on Wednesday, so I hope you're excited about that. I am. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to embrace imperfection, find meaning, satisfaction, and joy from the journey. I'm Kyra, and this is Imperfectly Broken, the podcast.